Thank you, Linton. Thank you so much for keeping us on time. I'm just so excited to see this room filling up tonight. Great energy out there. And I will just, I know Linton said Nicole come up. So I am Nicole Chabot. I'm the president of the Springfield Chamber of Commerce. It's my pleasure to welcome you all and thank you for attending tonight's pre-election Reeve Candidates Forum. Thank you so much for joining us. I would like to recognize that we do have a number of our board of directors in attendance this evening. You'll see Daryl, who is looking after the recording of the events that are being posted on Facebook. Our photographer, Brent Bellick, is our secretary. We also have Vince Rattay, Jan Roger, Rose Barton, a few other people in attendance here. So I think I saw Lydia as well. Thank you all for joining us tonight. The Springfield Chamber of Commerce is made up of people who live, work, and play in Springfield. Ours is not an exclusive view of business, but of a whole community. Our membership care deeply about our community, building it healthy, well-rounded, and of course, giving back. The Chamber took the initiative with the forums because we felt that it was important that the voting electorate have an opportunity to evaluate the candidates based on their responses to a uniform set of questions. Our goal in these forums is to educate the public and get everybody engaged in the election and learning about candidate platforms. I would like to take a moment to introduce our candidates joining us tonight for Reeve, and they are Tiffany Fell, Bob Bednarik, Ken Luco, and Vince Benici. Thank you for joining us. We would like to express our thanks to all the candidates who have stepped up to enter the race and put themselves forward to participate in the democratic process. I'd also like to thank our community partners for their role in bringing the forums to the community alongside the Chamber. Those are Age Friendly Committee, Cooks Creek Expansion Committee, Springfield Agricultural Group, the Springfield Democratic Development, Springfield Women's Institute, and Vision 2020. It's now my pleasure to introduce our moderator this evening, Mr. Linton Sellon. He is an esteemed leadership trainer, community member, and he's been moderating all of our forums and doing a fantastic job of it. So I'll give it over without further ado. Linton Sellon.
Thank you. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's forum we've chosen the title deliberately. It's not a debate, it's a forum. And the purpose of the forum is to allow you, the voting public, and thank you for taking enough interest to come out, even when there's a Jets game on tonight. Oh, and by the way, let's observe the new convention in sports events that you don't spoil the event by announcing the score by looking at your cell phone, for those of us who have recorded it. That's the first rule of engagement for tonight, okay? Nobody utters the score in the Jets game before the, sorry. So the purpose of tonight's forum is to have an opportunity to hear the candidates speak to the issues. It's not, and I say this every time, I know some of you have heard it before, but I'll read you the riot act again. This is not a forum where you get to express your views. What about community engagement? It's not happening tonight. What about me having freedom of speech? You don't have it in here. What about my opportunity to express my views? You know how you get to express your views? You put your name on the ballot, and you will be invited to express your views at the next forum. Because these folks took the responsibility of putting their name on the ballot, so they get to express their views. With all due respect, your views in this election are irrelevant because you're not on the ballot. These people are on the ballot, so their views are relevant because we need to know who we want to vote for. Now, your agreement or disagreement with their views is expressed on the ballot, which you get to do secretly and privately, and I'll ask you to keep your views secret and private tonight. Because I'm asking you, no, I'm requiring that you do not cheer, moan, groan, sigh, forehead slap, palms up, head shake. Basically, you have to sit there in stoned, respectful silence and let these people speak and give them their time. Because you don't get to express approval or disapproval of any comment they make. There's no cheering, there's no applause, nothing. Until the end, and then we'll thank them all. Just like head table introductions at the wedding, we'll thank them all at the end and applaud them all at the end. So really, no response from the audience is the requirement. And I like to tell this story because the first forum I did last election, when I said that, guy at the back, when I said you can't cheer or respond in any way, he said, then I might as well go home. And I said, yes, sir, you might as well, because you'll be asked to leave if you do that. That's actually what we're going to do, because we're going to respect these people and give them their time to talk. Having said that, we're going to ask them 12 questions. If you don't like the questions, you can blame me, because the Chamber of Commerce asked me to independently screen about 20 pages worth of questions that came in, try to synopsize what general topics were that were most common, and phrase them in a way that was appropriate for our forum. So those of you who send in questions, you'll find I eliminated all your arguments, all your statements of did you know that research shows, and did you know that this shows that, and boiled it down to please speak on this issue. So the questions we're going to give them is please speak on this issue, and we'll let them speak on the issue and let them deliver the facts that they want to deliver, because they're the candidates, not the people sending in the questions. Anything that was argumentative, I took out of the questions as well. So all we've got is simple questions like, please comment on your view of the Jets' defense this year. Something like that. As opposed to, why do you think the Jets stink? Okay, that's or why do you think the Leafs stink? We're not going to put that in there. The same thing will happen with questions that come from the floor. There's no way we'll get to all the questions from the floor, given the number of people here. You might want to wait for an hour to hear what questions are asked, because last night about half the questions didn't get asked from the floor because we'd already covered them in the 12 questions. So a lot of the big topics will get covered. If you think we've missed something, you can write down a question and send it up. But again, don't bother putting in the argument, don't bother putting in the commentary, just state a question, because that's all I'm going to put to them as a question. And that's all they're going to get. We have 3 hours. We'll use the time as best we can. Each candidate is going to get 3 minutes on each question. If you see me stand up in the middle, that's because that's their 15-second warning that they're at 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Except for the first question, they get 4 minutes. And if you're wondering about the sequence of who answers these questions, there's an app for everything. There's an app for everything. I found an app. And so what I do is I plug the 4 names in, I push the button, and it generates that list of 4 names in random order. And I push the button again, and it gives them in random order again. So if you wonder why one candidate has to answer 2 questions in a row first, luck of the draw, that's how the app spit it out. So I'm not choosing who speaks first. I didn't choose how they sat. The app picked that too. Everything's been randomized so that everybody's got a level playing field. So you'll see that the order will be different for each question in terms of how they respond. So that's what we're going to do. So with no further ado, let's start with the first of the 12 prepared questions. And this is the opportunity for each member. Oh, better hit the button first and tell you what order you're going to be in. It's going to be Tiffany, then Vince, then Bob, then Ken. And the question is, please introduce yourself. Please tell us what motivated you to run for Reeve, what qualifies you for that role, and what is your vision for the RM. Tiffany.
Okay, it's working. Good evening. I would first like to start off by thanking the Springfield Chamber of Commerce for organizing our election forums. I would also like to thank all the community groups for contributing questions, as well as SCI for hosting and Linton for moderating. A bit of background about myself. I grew up in Springfield in the area of Cooks Creek. I attended local schools and participated in activities throughout the RM. I have also been volunteering in our community since I was a child. I look forward to being your Reeve and continuing to serve our community and enable positive change. My husband Al and I have also lived in Oakbank, but we currently live on 20 acres just east of Birds Hill Park with our amazing family. I look forward to taking on this new leadership role as Reeve and accomplishing great things in Springfield. I would like to address some rumors that I've heard on the campaign trail. I'm on my second round of going door to door, and this is that I am going to be stepping down after 2 years and running for MLA. There is a lot of work to be done in Springfield, more work than can be done in 4 years, and I do plan on running again for re-election in 2022. I love Springfield, I enjoy this work, and besides, I think you know by now, I'm a very hard worker, and I would never leave a job unfinished. I've enjoyed serving our community for 4 years as your full-time counselor, and as your Reeve, I continue to planning working just as hard. I believe we need strong leadership in Springfield, with a Reeve who is available to constituents, lives in Springfield, represents both rural and urban Springfield, and has the time and energy to show up and get the job done. I have always actively participated in Springfield community events, most recently in organizing the expansion of the 6th annual Springfield Share-a-thon. In addition, I try to participate in a variety of community events throughout Springfield and support community initiatives whenever possible. Over the last 4 years, I've gained knowledge as Deputy Reeve, Chair of Finance, and by serving on many committees for both our council and our community. Along with this important knowledge and experience, I have also attained my designation as a certified municipal official through the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, and this is added to my Bachelor of Business Administration and formal training in mediation and negotiation. I also believe that council experience is a critical requirement for this job of Reeve. We live in a large RM with a very large budget, and there is a learning curve with this job. And to jump in without a previous experience as a councillor is doing a disturbance to the constituents of the RM. There is a wealth of knowledge in the people of Springfield, and I want to work with council and constituents to create an RM where residents see value for their tax dollars with a robust, thriving business base, a community where diversity is celebrated, and we will continue forward with positive growth. I want to create an environment in Springfield where residents are able to live, work, play, and stay.
Thank you, Vince. Please introduce yourself. Tell us what motivated you to run for council, for the Reeve, what qualifies you for the role, and what is your vision for the RM.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vince Benici. I own the Oak Bank Car Wash and Water Mart. Looking out into this constituency, I see quite a few of my customers. What motivated me? Sorry. Oh, is that better? Sorry. Okay. Sorry. What motivated me to run was the things that I've seen around this town in the years that I've owned the car wash. People coming to me, talking to me, telling me about some political issues, the roads, things that are going wrong that didn't go wrong years ago. Give you an example. This spring, we had 3 things or 4 things done to most of the paved roads in the RM. Things like when they first started, they came out with the thing to take the road off the duster to take off the grime off the roads. Then they turn around, this council, and not this council, but Public Works. They turn around and they come in with the packer, the cold packer. Then they come in back and they come in with the sweeper again. And then the final step was they turn around and they fill the cracks. Now, to me, that's a waste of money. So that's what motivated me to run. My qualifications. As John F. Kennedy once said, leadership and learning are independent to each other. Business owners succeed and fail with the lack of either one. Running a successful business is being accountable to your customers and fiscally responsible to your bottom line. It takes leadership and the will to consistently learn the ways to do things better. Running for office is no different. You're accountable to the resident and fiscally responsible for their tax dollars. The Municipal Act sets out how things are run. It's an easy document to understand. The Reeve and the councillors have one vote. The only difference is the Reeve leads. I was the chair of the library for 3 years, which operated under the Robert's Rules of Orders, no different than council. I respect and welcome different opinions and look forward to working with the team with new ideas. The municipality should be running the best business practices, prioritize spending, looking for efficiencies, and where more projects can be done for less without decreasing the quality. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, please introduce yourself and tell us what motivates you to run for Reeve, what qualifies you for the role, and what is your vision for the RM.
Thanks, Lyndon. First thing that you'll probably notice, I'm going to probably remain seating because I do need a knee replacement. On my campaign trail, when I've been going around visiting people, I've been hearing stories about how I'm so sick that I'm not going to be running for council or for Reeve. Let me tell you, I'm here to show you that I am in fact going to run for Reeve. I'm not ready for the talking dead yet. Anyway, I was raised on a mixed grain and vegetable farm, which taught me responsibility and a strong work ethic at a very early age. I have a BA in economics plus 2 years of engineering and 4 years as a drainage surveyor with water resources. During my 32-year career at Manitoba Hydro, I wrote economic reports for the corporation and designed computer programs also for the corporation. Prior to becoming a councillor in Springfield, I attended council meetings on a regular basis and assisted residents with drainage concerns, tax appeals, and resolving various other problems. I also participated as a volunteer for the Canadian Cancer Society, Meals on Wheels, and Big Brothers Association. I have played numerous sports, including pitching fastball for 15 years. And let me tell you, they tell you about how good sports are for you. Well, in 1 year, I threw out my arm that my bicep was hanging by my elbow. I lost a couple teeth playing hockey, and I took out my knee playing basketball. So it may be good for some people, but other people may not have such good luck with it. Anyway, during my 16 years as a councillor in Reeve, I have served on the board of directors for numerous corporations and ventures. One of them was the Winnipeg River Community Futures, and I served on the Investment Review Committee, Personnel Committee, and Ad Hoc Committee responsible for reviewing and making recommendations to update board policies. I was elected 3 consecutive years to the National Board of Directors of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and served on finance and intergovernmental arrangements, economic development, infrastructure and transportation, railway proximity, and community safety. As Reeve of the RM of Springfield, I currently serve on approximately 40 other committees or boards of directors. At the Eastern District Rural Forum and Association of Manitoba Municipalities, I introduced a resolution stating that in any 3-way funding deal, the ratio of federal, provincial, and municipal shares should be approximately equal to the percentage of taxes generated by each level of government. The federal portion would be 50%, provincial 42%, and municipal 8%. The motion passed unanimously. I guess that should end it. I think I'm just about out of time, so 1 minute. Okay, I'm also a member of the ARM, Association of Rural Municipalities, Association of Manitoba Municipalities, and Federation of Canadian Municipalities. I'm interested in providing the same type of service that people have come to know me for, and it's stability versus flash. I want to make sure that we continue with the same type of policies as what we have in the past 4 years, where we respect the people and we respect their ideas and allow them the freedom to speak at council meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, please introduce yourself and speak to what motivates you to run for Reeve, what qualifies you for the role, and what is your vision for the RM.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ken Lucal, and I'm running for the position of Reeve for the rural municipality of Springfield. I'd like to thank the Chamber for hosting these events, and particularly for having it here. It brings back some old memories. I still remember where the principal's office is for some reason. My wife Joan and I live in Monumental, where my parents moved in 1946. I've gone to school in an Oak Bank. Some of you may have visited our place, as we own the Monumental Berry Farm, so you may have been there picking strawberries, and if not, you can always come around next year. Little plug for business. I was elected to 3 terms as a councillor in Springfield. I have experience in farming, as I own part of my grandfather's farm that I started working on when I was 12 years old. I have experience in private business. I was a fire prevention officer for the Eastern Region with Manitoba Conservation. I've been an executive director of a nonprofit organization, the operations manager for another municipality for a public works department, a site supervisor for Manitoba Water Stewardship, and I worked supervising a disaster financial claim for a private engineering company. I'm proud to say that I've been appointed to the Manitoba Farm Industry Board for the province of Manitoba that deals with foreign ownership to preserve agriculture for our residents. I've also sat on the Red River Basin Commission, Southeast Groundwater Management Association, Cooks Creek Conservation District. I've been chairman of Public Works and Water and Waste for Springfield, and been vice president of the Manitoba Association of Regional Recyclers. I believe that all this experience would help me be a good Reeve for Springfield. And I can tell you that going door to door has been a great experience. I've seen some of the most beautiful yards that should be in magazines. There's even a guy on Symington Road that grows Chilean peppers and hauls all these plants in the fall for winter. Over the years, I have learned to listen to all sides of stories, investigate issues, and not make hasty decisions. When I was first elected, I was all about drainage. You showed me a ditch and we were digging it. We were going to clean it, and that's all there was to it. But there's more to the municipality than ditches. The good people of Enola taught me about recreation. People like Tony Zaruka, Sean Wilkinson, how important that it is. The people of Cooks Creek have shown me what you can do by selling 1 million pancakes to build a new rec center. The people in Dugald Estates have taught me how important senior housing is. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a vision for Springfield. I think we need to do something different. Something that hasn't been done in 4 years. We need to work together. Work together. Isn't that something new or something old? Let's make Springfield a municipality that is the envy of every other municipality. Let's make Springfield a place where people want to come and live and raise families. Thank you.
Thank you. The order for the next question will be Vince, Tiffany, Bob, Ken. And here's the next question. What do you see as the top 3 priorities for council in the RM? Vince.
Thank you. Top 3 priorities that I see for council, I would believe would be moving the development plan forward and implementing it and moving on to the second stage, second plan, where most of the development is, and moving it forward. We can tweak it, we can do whatever we want with it, but we should move that forward so we know where we're going. Balanced economy for value, providing value for money. I believe that's very important for the simple fact that if we don't have the money to do what we want to do, we're not getting the services. Balanced economy providing value for money would mean to me, here's an example. The RM bought a stone crusher. So the stone crusher can only crush 5 inches or bigger. But we paid $272,000 approximately US for the stone crusher, crushing only 5 inches or bigger. We bought it, brought it here. So during their asking for it, they asked, how much are we going to save at the end? $9,000. So we're going to spend approximately $350,000 Canadian to save $9,000. Does that make sense? I'm not a politician. I'm not like these people, where I've never been in government. I know how to run a business, and I get people involved because that's what I believe. The second thing is enhanced spirit of community. I see it when I've gone up to Cooks Creek. I've seen what they've done over in Hazel Ridge. I've seen what they've done over in Enola and Dugald. They've used their communities to work together so that they can build these communities. That's what we require, to work together as a team. Because as a team, we can move mountains. We can do things. But being separated and thinking of each other as Cooks Creek and Enola and Dugald, it just doesn't work. It's like we're all pulling in different directions. So basically, I would like to get the enhanced spirit of the community so we can work together. And again, move mountains because we have the strength and we have the knowledge in this community. Good governance. Transparency and accountability. I believe in that, and that is the cornerstones of my platform. I own a business. People vote with their feet. If they don't like the things that I'm doing, they will leave my business. I'm willing to put that on the line to make the right decisions for this RM to move forward and use the money smart, wisely, put it in the places that we need to put it in. Again, I'm not a politician. I just call it the way I see it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tiffany, what do you see as the top 3 priorities for council and the RM?
Thank you, Linton. I am not only going to give you my 3 priorities, I'm going to tell you how I plan to accomplish them. I am going to read my answer directly from my paper because I don't want to leave anything out, and Linton has only given me 3 minutes. So number 1 is communication. One of council's responsibilities is to communicate with constituents, and we should be informing constituents on how we are spending your tax dollars, what we are doing with your tax dollars, the project that we're working on, and the progress that we are making. The public needs to be able to hold their officials accountable, and the only way to do that is to ensure that you are informed. I propose monthly newsletters, weekly email updates, utilizing our news media outlets more, and increasing our presence on various forms of social media. Next is economic development. We are currently looking to hire an economic development officer because what Springfield needs is a strategy for business development. We need to foster a strong working relationship between the RM, the Chamber of Commerce, and the business community of Springfield. We have already created a category called employment lands in the proposed development plan, but we also need to create policies that simplify the process for business development. This end result is to demonstrate that Springfield is open for business. Lastly is teamwork. We need teamwork to accomplish these goals. An important part of building relationships, we need to do this with all levels of government, our RM staff, with our business sector, our community groups, and our stakeholders. I have successfully developed these relationships over the past 4 years as your counselor, and I will continue to build on them as Reeve. Working together with community groups and the RM staff, great things have happened in our RM over the last few years, and I'll give you a few examples. We have Springfield's new portable skate park, upgrades to make our community club accessible, some large drainage projects such as the Hazel Ridge Drain, drainage along Mission Road, as well as Sage West and Oakbank. The Dougal Community Club had a substantial indoor renovation. We did significant improvements to the Hazel Ridge Arena, as well as our contribution as an RM to the exciting expansion of the Cooks Creek Community Club. In addition, a lot more has happened over the last 4 years as a result of building strong relationships with other levels of government and partnering on projects. We have received funding for the expansion of the Dougal water plant and a new raw water line, expanding our raw water well source for Springfield, the resurfacing of PTH 15, a large expansion to the Dougal School with a new daycare being built right beside it. If good things happen in one area of Springfield, it is great for our entire RM, and I want to see more of this positive growth across Springfield. And this will happen if we continue to build these strong relationships and work as a team to serve our community.
Thank you. Bob, what do you see as the top 3 priorities for council?
There are quite a few more than the 3, but the top 3 that I'm going to currently deal with, I think, is the need for senior housing. Looking around this room, there are a lot of people like me who have receding hairlines or white hair, so we know that the need is there. As a municipality, we currently have land that we have volunteered to give for this project. And I think that's one of our most needs, rather than having our seniors and our families move to other parts of the province, Ericsdale and other locations like that, that makes it almost impossible to visit them once they move into a home. So that is my number 1 choice to finish off and create some more housing. Number 2 is to improve road and drainage systems. This year we actually won an award for the best maintained roads in our district. This can only happen by ensuring that money is available for the improvements for the road and drainage system. And those two items are part of our development, or not development plan, part of our municipal act. We are mandated to provide good roads and drainage at the level that they should be at. Number 3, I don't know if any of you have heard this, but we have started a tax stabilization reserve that is generated from the proceeds of our gravel industry. So for every year that we sell some of our gravel, we put part of that money into a reserve that eventually it will build up enough that we can actually use it to reduce our tax increases in the future. I think that is the way to go in a non-renewable resource. We know that we're going to run out of gravel eventually, and that way we can make use of it without spending the capital that we get from the proceeds. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Ken, what do you see as the top 3 priorities for council in the RM?
Top 3 priorities that I picked was taxation, quality of life, and fiscal responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, Springfield's assessment is over $1.2 billion and rising, because we're growing, we're building, the good things are happening. But you shouldn't be paying more taxes. As your assessment base goes higher, your tax rate should be going down because you have more money to draw from. And we should be looking for new sources of revenue. The City of Winnipeg, under the City of Winnipeg Act, only pays $289,000 in taxes to us for a railroad, an aqueduct, 4 reservoirs, and a water treatment plant. There's working together for you. $289,000. If they paid us $1.2 million, which is the least they should pay, your taxes would go down 10%. Quality of life. Things like policing, the RCMP and the Springfield Police. We need to boost up our police department to have a bigger presence on the road. Our fire department, we have very dedicated people with new equipment and great training. And recreation, the big white elephant in the room that always seems to draw attention. I have a plan and a brochure. I'm going to advertise now. I have a brochure that I've been leaving in everybody's door about how to build a soccer facility with a daycare and a running track for $12 million without, without raising taxes. And then there's fiscal responsibility. Let's cut red tape. Let's make it easier to start a business or to get a permit or for your driveway or for your house. Let's review spending in the budget. We should review all our maintenance programs for our roads, whether it be for gravel or pavement. And we should every year should be reviewing council indemnities to make sure people aren't at the trough. Ladies and gentlemen, we should be working to put money back in your pockets.
Thanks. The order for the next question will be Tiffany, Bob, Ken, Vince. And the question relates to fiscal management. Please comment on fiscal management and budgetary policy at the RM. If any, would you make regarding fiscal policy and practices? Are there any areas where you would increase or decrease expenditures? Tiffany.
Thank you, Linton. As a council, we are responsible for creating an annual budget and a 5-year rolling capital plan every budget cycle. I would like our new council to start our budget cycle earlier, which would allow us for even more public input. This would also allow us to put out RFPs earlier in the season. The earlier we do put out these proposals for pricing, the better pricing we get back with our quotes. This is a direct savings to the tax base. Over the last 4 years, we have also increased the amount of public houses and information sessions that we host. These need to continue to happen every budget season. As an elected official, I believe that council and administration should always be looking for ways to be more efficient, look for cost-saving initiatives, and try to be a lean, well-run organization. We should be looking for new and innovative ways to save money for Springfield.
Thank you. Bob, please comment on fiscal management and budgetary policy at the RM.
Okay, first off, I'd like to discuss fiscal responsibility. It's inherent in the Municipal Act. We cannot operate in a deficit position. However, we should be doing cost-benefit analysis on most of the capital projects to ensure positive return on investment before jobs are undertaken. Jobs with the highest return on investment should be done in sequence of high to low. To ease the burden of development, we could create a staged financing system in terms of implementation of infrastructure. Another thing we should be doing is reviewing all operations, exploring methods, and extending life of equipment so that we don't replace them too soon. Whether we're buying a building or building another one, we should explore methods of efficient utilization of the existing buildings. In terms of indemnities, we should possibly bring it up to look at, but I'll give you some information as well. We have not had any increases in indemnities since 2011, and I happen to be the only member of council that voted against them at that time. I think that there are ways that we can cut back, and certainly we will explore the possibility of doing that. But main thing to do is to make sure that we do cost-benefit analysis on more of the projects to ensure that they should be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, please speak to fiscal management and budgetary policy.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are entrusting us to look after your money. So we should look after your bank account. We shouldn't be overspending. We should be careful. That's just prudent. We should start, the new council, whoever it is, should start out by looking at this year's budget and see where the shortfalls are, over expenditures. We should review spending and purchasing policies, contracts and tenders. We're very fortunate in Springfield that we have some great contractors that work for us that do excellent work. So we have a mixture of our own works department and contractors. Works very well. We should reduce red tape, as I said before, and that would take some investigating to do. We should review fees for building permits, driveway permits. Are we charging too much, or are we not charging enough, depending on how much work is involved? We should look at all of this. The dust control program is a disaster, as far as I'm concerned. Some people pay 50%, some get free. Some businesses pay 100%, and other businesses get it for free. It's not fair, and it needs to be looked at. I mentioned the city of Winnipeg. They're good stewards. They want to work with us, so they should pay their fair share of taxes as well. And the budget needs to be done on time.
Thank you. Vince, please speak to fiscal management and budgetary policy.
First, we need to adhere to the regulations if municipal fiscal management is contained in the Municipal Act. I don't see that. I don't see the fiscal management as being contained within the Municipal Act that this council here is doing. Keeping a lid on taxes is my thing that I see. I see things like they say that they didn't vote themselves into their benefit package. Well, December 9th, 2014, about a month and a half after they got in, they ended up voting themselves into the benefit package. October 25th, 2016, they're hiring 9 more positions. Have you gotten any better services for the positions they've hired? Your taxes are going up. We got to be responsible for those taxes. You're putting somebody in a position that's going to be looking after your money. Yes, again, I'm not a politician, but I know how to manage money. I think we can do things a lot better. I think we can keep smaller government. Here's another example: smaller government with the 9 people. What would I change? More accountability, increased spending on recreation opportunities for all ages in Springfield. People tell me that their priority is for more recreation, master plan recreation, and a place to guide priorities. The development plan pretty much looks at all that, and we can develop those areas. I apologize, folks. Like I said, I'm not as polished as the rest of them. I look at it as I'm not asking for pity. I just know that they're not asking the right questions, like the fiscal responsibility and the management. They're not asking questions of who, why, what, where, and when. All I see is when I go to these council meetings that have been going for the last couple of years is that they're raising their hands. They're not asking the questions. Maybe I'm not privy to that information, but I think we can do better. I think we can spend our money a lot better, spending it on recreation. We got our kids that are sitting at home, playing on Xbox. They got nowhere to go. We're now starting to get into the recreation, but before that, we never really did. Don't know what else to say. I do it with heart and compassion. That's the difference. That's why I'm running. Anyway, here, folks. Thank you.
Thank you. The next sequence will be Bob, Vince, Ken, Tiffany. And the question relates to the development plan. Here's the full wording. What is your view of the current development plan? And that the intention of that question is with respect to the one that's just gone second reading at council, the proposed development plan. Are you in favor of it as it stands, or would you make changes? If so, what changes? How do you see the implementation process going forward? Bob.
Well, I think with the development plan, it's at a point where we have to push it forward. Overall, it's a good development plan. The only thing that I would have possibly changed is the implementation of the secondary plans. I think we've bitten off more than we can chew, and it's going to take time to get that secondary plan in place. As far as the overall concept, it's time we move on. We've been working on this development plan for the last 12 years. It's supposed to be reviewed every 5 years, and it's been done in 2001 when we last looked at it. So it is time to move on, and hopefully we will be putting in place locations where we can build our industry and our commerce in between Oakbank and Dugald. We currently also have an area inside the perimeter that is getting filled up with our industries and commercial establishments, and we do need other locations for it. So let's get on with it and move this plan forward as quick as we can.
Thank you. Vince, the development plan.
Current development plan, I believe we should move forward with it. It's a development plan that we can work with. We should also move into the secondary development plan because that's where most of the development is in the secondary plan. I reviewed the documents, and the proposed plan seems to be mostly fine. We can tweak it as we go along. There's certain things that I don't agree with, but again, we need to have something that would move it forward and have a development plan in place so we know where we're going in the future for our kids and for our grandkids. Again, time to formally adopt a development plan. Provisions for review and tweaking. The province, through the Planning Act, sets legislative framework for the viewing the political and local land use planning. So we really have to follow their development plan. It's approved by them. We can tweak it as we go along. The land policy use. We also need to address the zoning bylaws to make sure that they are in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, please speak about the development plan.
Ladies and gentlemen, development plans are a nightmare, but there's something that has to be done for land use in the municipality. This one's not approved yet. The previous council almost had the plan finished, and this council threw it out and spent just a little bit of money to redo it. The provincial government has about 36 pages of concerns about it, especially the Department of Agriculture, which really concerns me because we have such a rich agricultural heritage here. You know, when you get down and you look at the development plan, and you'll pull your hair out if you have any once you start looking at these things. So I looked at it, and something popped out. You know how you look at something that doesn't look right? So I saw in a little corner, there's a change in land use for a property. This change in land use doubled the amount of subdivisions a person could make. How many of you have been turned down for subdivisions? I bet you a few. And I looked, and it appears to me that this piece of land that's going to be able to subdivide and be worth a fortune may belong to a member of council. Something doesn't smell right. There's a lady I know who owns a piece of ecological land that her and her husband spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on, and now they can't do anything with it because it's been redesignated. It's worthless. But the municipality wants it and harasses her and threatens her with expropriation. Because ecological land, I've been told, and she's been told, you can't change the designation. Never, ever. It stays that way. Can't build on it. Another little thing in the new development plan. There's a piece of property that looks like the ecological area has been redesignated. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's there. How can you do this for one person and not for another? How can you harass this poor lady and threaten her and not help her? There's a candidate last night, I don't want to name anybody, said that Enola needs things like development, stores, amenities. This candidate may have red hair, I'm not sure. But anyway, sure Enola needs all that. But if you look at a new development plan, there's an area 160 acres south of Enola for residential development. Not in the new plan, that was in the old one. It's only 80 acres now. They took it away from the person. We don't need to redo the whole thing, but we need to make sure that it's fair.
Thank you. Tiffany, please speak to the development plan.
Thank you. The development plan is an overall policy document about the use of land in Springfield. And I am very happy with the proposed development plan that is currently under with the provincial government. I'm sorry, you have to hold this really close. For the last 12 years, previous Springfield councils have attempted to complete a development plan, but we felt that what was needed to be successful in creating a development plan for Springfield was more public involvement and input throughout the entire process. We hosted 16 open house events as the RM went through the process of creating this development plan. I wanted to ensure that proper public input occurred. I believe that if our due diligence is done regarding public input, then the RM will have a final product that is accepted by the general tax base as a whole. This document is long overdue, and I want to make sure that constituents had a true say in the process and the document itself. As soon as the province sends the development plan back to our current council, we need to complete the third reading and move on to implementing our development plan. However, if the development plan does not come back to Springfield until new council is in place, my plan is to, as soon as possible, have consultants spend a day with new council and our administration to orient new members on the process to date, the plan itself, what we heard from the public, what we heard back from the province, and then move on to final reading of the bylaw. Shortly following this third reading, council needs to create the secondary plans and the zoning bylaw and incorporate public input into the creation of these documents as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The order for the next question is Vince, Ken, Bob, Tiffany. And the question regarding economic development is, what would be your policies regarding the role of council in the economic development of the RM? Vince, please.
I believe attaining a balanced economy through economic development, a proper balance of taxes. That's what we need to keep things steady and growth. We've got the opportunity now. We're being outpaced by a lot of different RMs. West St. Paul is taking a lot of the business away. We're known as not a friendly business or a friendly place to do business. Presently, Springfield is known for not a friendly place to do business. Some municipalities in the capital region are taking advantage of our poor reputation and luring businesses to the municipalities with open arms. And in some cases, they are granted concessions. They're given benefits so that they could open up a business. I don't see that in Oakbank. I've gone to Gimli, I've gone to all these places, towns that are smaller than ours, and they've got more amenities. We need to work together to bring that forward. We need to look at the long-term benefits of having extra businesses because they do bring in more taxes. I'm a business owner. My taxes are tripled to what I pay to the house. We need to look at that. We need to look at the responsibilities that we require to move it forward and to make sure that our money is being spent properly. I focus on the money because that's what I see being misspent. You're seeing it out there too. You're there every day and you see the money that's not being spent properly. So we need to be properly and fiscally responsible for that. The role of, we need a balanced economy across the municipality. We need industrial, we need commercial, we need agricultural, we need hospitality and tourism, business retention and growth. We need to facilitate regular growth and outlined in the development plan. So we've got an opportunity, we've got a plan that we can put forward and start developing and start bringing in economic. That's what keeps our tax lower, is by bringing in more business. So promote the RM as an ideal place to live, work, play, and stay, because that'll bring a lot of people. We looked at ideas. We were going to lose them. We were going to lose them to another municipality because we weren't willing to work with them. We need to work more with people, with our own businesses, to bring it forward. It's just a balance of economies, and that's what I see. It's money in, money out. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, economic development.
How important is economic development? Look at places like Pine Falls, where the major employer pulled out. Places like Sprague, where they took the instant teller away. It's all about one thing. There's one thing that you need to have people. Jobs. Jobs and more jobs. If you got jobs, people will come. They will move here. They will raise families here. They'll retire here, and their kids will stay here. It's all about jobs and businesses. As I said, cut red tape, review fees. We need to be involved with the Chamber of Commerce and the residents. We need to promote businesses. Our website, I find very hard to sort of navigate it. Maybe it's just me. I think we should list every business in Springfield on the website. Maybe it's there, but I haven't found it. And we should charge them. We should charge them $5. And we should give that money to the food bank. We need to have safe communities and policing for the businesses, because who gets hit first? We're hearing about a crime wave spreading across the city, and it's going to make its way out here. You're going to need more police. You got to make it safe. And you need to lower taxes. More businesses, and businesses pay taxes. And they pay higher taxes on their portioning than you do with your residents. So they help to subsidize the tax rate. They may not like that, but sometimes that's just the way it is. And most importantly, we just need to educate people and work together for once to get something positive done instead of fighting each other all the time.
Thank you. Bob, economic development.
Economic development, I think, is probably one of the more important jobs that we have coming up. One of the issues that we've always had is that we've never been able to work with the chamber or with business as far as coming up with a good plan to develop effectively. There's a number of things that I would do. One of them is that we're in the process of doing right now is establish the position of economic development officer, who'd be the liaison between the commercial developer and the municipality to ensure the needs of the developer are dealt with effectively. We need to establish a business development committee consisting of representatives from the municipality and the business sector. One of the first things that should also be done is conduct a REAP, which means Regional Economic Assessment Process, to assess growth trends and other economic factors to determine job requirements. We need to establish a small business week, job fairs, and a business incubator to try and assist small businesses that are wanting to start up. There's a few things that we can do, and it's time that we did them. And I hope to, in the next 4 years, to work with the industrial commercial sector, because there's no doubt that they do generate a lot of taxes for the municipality. And as Ken mentioned, one of the things that they do is they pay higher taxes because of the apportionment than the residential sector does do. Thanks.
Thank you. Tiffany,
Thank
Economic
you.
Development.
Our existing business base makes Springfield strong, and their contribution to our municipality is absolutely vital. A thriving business base brings great things to RRM. It provides local employment, assists with local infrastructure, and most importantly, it creates a larger tax base. Business taxes help pay for increased services and amenities, as well as keep residential taxes at a stable rate. In previous years, councils have focused on residential development, but I believe that our focus should become more balanced with an increased emphasis on business development, and Springfield needs a strategy for this. As mentioned earlier, in our proposed development plan, we have created a category called employment lands to make it easier for businesses to come to Springfield. Council also needs to work with our local Chamber of Commerce and demonstrate that Springfield is open for business. We are currently doing a job recruitment for a development officer, and I foresee that our new economic development officer will focus on Springfield businesses and increasing our economic base, foster a strong working relationship between the RM and the business community of Springfield, initiate business recruitment, development, and retention, and help liaise with the Chamber of Commerce. As I said, our existing businesses make Springfield strong, and I believe that council should be active in fostering a solid relationship with them and increasing the size of Springfield's business base. As a council, we can develop policies that make the process easier for businesses to develop and thrive in Springfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, you're up first for the next one, followed by Vince, Ken, and Tiffany. Please give your views regarding prioritizing or balancing commercial and industrial development needs versus residential needs and interests. Please comment regarding economy, lifestyle, and relative costs and benefits to the RM, its businesses, and its residents. So that's commercial and industrial development versus residential needs and interests. Bob.
Okay, currently our municipality generates about 20% of its tax revenue from its commercial sector inside the floodway. I believe that the balancing of commercial development with the residential development is a necessity. The taxes generated by commercial development are considerably higher, and not only for municipal taxes but also school taxes. If we look at the school taxes, they not only contribute towards the amount of taxes collected, but they also pay a special education levy, which also reduces the amount that we have to pay as a resident. Commercial and industrial development can reduce the reality of what is currently referred to a lot of our urban centers as bedroom communities. There may be a place for our children to live and play and stay, but there have been studies done that indicate that every dollar contributed by residential development costs $1.25 to maintain the infrastructure in the long term. For commercial development, there's a net gain less than $1 to maintain. So we want to try and work with commercial and industrial development as much as possible. The area inside the floodway is getting to a point where it's being saturated, so we want to start establishing some locations outside the perimeter, outside the floodway, where we can grow in terms of commercial. Thank you.
Thank you. Vince, please talk about commercial industrial development versus residential needs.
I think they're both equally important. With the residential, commercial, industrial development are both needed for a prosperous community. The commercial development benefits our tax base while potentially supporting local and, employment and providing services. The residential components providing customers as well as housing for employees. It is important to have the right balance. We need to have the right balance because we need to keep our taxes low. And by enticing business to come out here and invest in our community, whether it's here or in NOLA or Dugald or wherever the communities are that they want to invest in, that brings us more of a tax base, which means we could use the money wisely and spend it properly. We're a rich community. I just don't get it. We're a rich community, but we're the poorest. We're the biggest RM, but we have the worst reputation out there. We need to work together with commercial and industrial businesses to let them want to come here, to have that pride, to say that, oh yeah, my business is located in Springfield. Again, we're looking at West St. Paul. West St. Paul is taking a lot of business away from us. The plans are in place to have the development plan move forward, and that'll show the difference between the commercial and industrial needs as compared to the residential needs. We have every location that we can put in on 207 that'll generate an extra income, just in case they take away the Ward 1, our tax base, because our taxes would go up like crazy if they took that away. The biggest tax base is our Ward 1. Second is Oak Bank. Those are the two ones that are keeping our taxes low. We need to work together as a team to make sure that both commercial and industrial needs are met and that we entice business to come into this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, please speak to commercial industrial development needs versus residential needs.
Well, obviously both are important. And we're fortunate that we're growing and we can bring both in. It starts with a development plan, but you have to be business friendly as well and try and help. And you need to work with the Chamber of Commerce, and hopefully the businesses will all join the Chamber of Commerce as well. So then you got a conduit. So you don't have to try and contact every business. You can do it through the Chamber. It can work very well. By having more businesses, you have a better quality of life. There's more money, there's more people, there's more things going on, there's more stores. There's more recreation facilities. There'll be more senior housing. As long as you have the money to be able to do all these things, to keep the economy going within the municipality. We should be going out and trying to do one thing and find a very large company, and of course every municipality is after that, somebody with 400 jobs or something like that. But we need to do that, and I think with our resources and our people and our employees that we'll be able to do something like that. And I'm sure there's people in Winnipeg, and I know a few of them, that are the first ones to know about these type of businesses coming into the province. So as I said in the beginning, it's just we need both, and we need to work together, and I think we can do some really special things. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiffany, please speak about commercial and industrial development needs versus residential needs.
Thank you, Linton. In previous years, councils have focused on residential development, but I again believe that our focus should become more balanced with an increased emphasis on business development. I believe these go hand in hand, and a thriving municipality would have a healthy mix of both residential and commercial and industrial. We need a variety of housing options for the variety of lifestyles in Springfield, such as single-family dwellings, condos, side-by-sides, apartments, acreages, both large and small. The recent report from Springfield Vision 2020 identified a need for more seniors housing here in Springfield. I support the development of projects like Springfield Place, Dougal Estates, Phase 1 and 2, where seniors can age in place in the community that they call home. Thank you.
Thank you. The order for the next question will be Bob, followed by Vince, Tiffany, and then Ken. And this relates to agriculture versus residential issues. Here's the full question. Please give your views regarding prioritizing or balancing agricultural concerns versus residential concerns. Please address issues such as farming operations, running equipment late at night, continuous operation of dryers and fans, early morning aerial applications, taxes paid versus benefit received from the RM, and education tax on farmland. Bob, you're up first.
Okay, Springfield has always been an agricultural-based RM, rural municipality. We have, having been raised on a farm, I understand that the time frame that is required to complete a farm operation might be very limited, and the work needs to be done. Good example is early morning spraying. It is the time of the day when the winds are at the lowest and the herbicides will drift the least. With the moisture content in cereal crops are high, and it's important and the necessity that grain dryers are operated around the clock. We didn't have the size of equipment that exists now, but when we were on the farm, there were quite often we were working shift work 24 hours a day to make sure that the work was completed. And as the land becomes close to the city becomes more expensive and the assessment and the taxes increase, the burden of taxation is shifting, in fact, to the agricultural classification. That's why the government must find an alternative way for funding education in the future.
Thank you. Vince, agricultural versus residential concerns.
I believe agriculture is very important industry for the RM. Farmland is increased in value, and the province has based assessments on market value. I guess the way they're looking at it now is the closer you are to the city, because I've talked to a few people knocking on doors, the closer you are to the city, the higher your assessment, which means the higher the taxes. So this is the reason why farmland has moved up and increased in value. The province-based assessment on market value, again, is based upon the city of Winnipeg and moving out into the capital regions area. Also from the province states that the RM can use a different mill rate. Here's an example. 2 years ago, this council was offered the opportunity to sit down and look at two different mill rates, one for the rural and for the farmers, urban and farmers. They had the opportunity to look at the rates because of the different tax cuts that the farmers have been facing over the last few years. With the increases in their taxes, they're paying a lot more. So 2 years ago, this council had the opportunity to look at it and reassess and look at the mill rate. They didn't do that. So you guys have been hanging for 2 years, waiting for something to happen to lower your taxes. They had the opportunity, and they still haven't moved forward with it. If I become Reeve, those are one of the things that I will move forward to make sure the farmers are properly protected and make sure that they're getting their fair share. I guess we find ourselves, we live in a rural municipality by choice. Just as Les Tripp was saying yesterday when we were at in Enola, I've never seen anybody move a 2,000 acre farm next to a house. So the farmers are very important to this community. We live in this community by choice. We don't move out here. The farmers have been here way before we were. We moved out here by choice for a reason. The development plan will look at the council and specific land use to zones to accommodate for urban and rural. So the farmlands will be protected because that's in our development plan already to make sure that we're protecting our farmers. Again, they're very important. We need to understand both residential and agricultural interests are necessary to contribute to long-term sustainability of this RM. Because, again, agriculture is important to the RM. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiffany, please speak about agricultural versus residential concerns.
Thank you. The RM of Springfield was founded on agriculture. Part of the first shipment of wheat exported from Manitoba actually came from RRM. As a council, we need to recognize the importance of our farming community and how we feed not only Canada, but we also feed the world. Farming is weather-based, and often the opportunity to plant, protect, and harvest a crop is within a small window of time. We need to respect that this is their livelihood and continue to work with the agricultural sector so that their operations continue to be successful. I have found the agricultural community to be respectful of their land, their crops, and their neighbors. Changes have been made by the province to the taxation of farmlands. Our council needs to continue to work with the province and advocate on behalf of our agricultural producers to make this more fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, agricultural versus residential concerns.
What a way of life. There's something about driving around in circles on a field that just seems to, I don't know, soothe you in some way. It kind of makes up for when you get a bad crop. And farmers are always optimistic because there's always next year, right? Crop's going to be better. We have a rich history of agriculture. We need to promote that. And there's a lot of farmers whose names are in the Manitoba Agriculture Hall of Fame in Morden that are listed there for the good work that they've done and the generations of families have been in farming. People don't grow up on the farm much anymore because they're larger farms, and they don't understand about raising animals and what it takes to raise a crop of grain now. I think we could do a good job of educating people. We need to start putting things in the newspaper or on social media about the positive things that are done in the RM and things like tell what farmers need to do in order to do their jobs. And now, one of the questions is regarding, how long the combine's going to be in the field. Well, when they roll in with 4 combines, they're not in the field very long anymore. We've identified our livestock operations as part of the development plan to protect those farmers. Because as Vincent said, you don't move a 2,000 acre farm. Or I guess Les said it originally. Same thing for aerial spraying. It's doesn't last very long, and there's going to be changes coming to that type of work. Council should continue to support the farmers in lobbying the provincial government in regards to school tax levy. I think they're capped at $5,000 right now. And since it's such a big part of our history, it's important to continue to support it. Because farmers, well, I don't think they're going to be going away anytime soon. And they're not going to quit growing crops and raising chickens and pigs and whatever else they need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. The order for question 8 will be Tiffany, Ken, Vince, Bob. And that relates to infrastructure. Please comment on infrastructure, especially roads and drainage. What would be your policies and approach? How high a priority is it? What would be your approach with respect to RM advocacy with the province regarding costs of infrastructure maintenance? So infrastructure, roads, and drainage. Tiffany.
Across Manitoba, infrastructure, particularly road repair and construction, continues to be the top taxpayer concern, outranking all other issues. In Springfield, in addition to road repair and construction, drainage has also been voiced as a top concern. Investment in infrastructure within our municipality is a top priority, as it is our council's responsibility to ensure not only the safety, but the well-being of our residents. Ensuring that our core infrastructure is properly maintained is essential to keep our residents from being saddled with exponentially increasing costs long into the future. Hello? Oh, there we go. Council has directed administration to create an asset management plan, which includes an inventory of our assets such as buildings, water, sewer systems, roads, and drainage. Then comes the fiscal plan to support maintenance and upgrades. Adequate funds should be allocated yearly in our budget and projects properly planned in our 5-year capital plan. We need to prioritize funding to close this infrastructure gap so that financial burdens for future generations is not overwhelming. In addition, we need to be creating capital reserves for roads, bridges, water, sewer projects for future years, even more so than we've already done. We must ensure that projects are shovel-ready and that we are sourcing revenue streams through other levels of government. Working collaboratively with our community partners, local businesses, and other levels of government is essential. The longer we allow this infrastructure gap to widen, the more these costs will continue to escalate.
Thank you. Ken, please speak about infrastructure, roads, and drainage.
Well, usually the drainage is really good on a dry year. But bulrushes grow and sediment gets in ditches, and drainage is really important. You have to be on council when you go through a flood year. It's unbelievable. 300 calls a day at the office, and that's not an exaggeration. You need a maintenance program, an ongoing maintenance program. We used to have something called the ward appropriation, where each councillor got $100,000 to do mostly drainage work. That's been taken away. That $500,000 just kind of floated away into different departments for different things. That's $500,000 a year less in drainage work. It's great on a year like this, but it'll get wet again. You need special maintenance programs for each type of work that you're doing. For bulrushes, for gravel roads, for pavement. The cost of pavement now is absolutely through the roof. A mile of chip seal is about $100,000. A mile of asphalt, about $500,000. So you need to make it last as long as you can. You have to reseal it, but that costs money too. So you have to make sure you put the money into it in order to be able to keep it, so that you make it last longer and spend less money in the long run. We need to work with Cook Street Conservation District. We did the Edie Creek Water Retention Project that stopped a lot of flooding southeast of Enola, and it was recognized internationally. Now, I said we needed to lower taxes and found ways to do that. And that doesn't mean we have to cut services. We can be more efficient and do things better. But this is a really important priority for the municipality, and we have to keep working on it. Thank you.
Let's talk about infrastructure, roads, and drainage.
I believe that infrastructure, road, and drainage is important because those are our lifelines. Those are the things that get moved. People move, go to work, pay their bills. They're important to us. They're something that we need. We need to maintain them. We need to take care of them. We need to make sure that the province and the feds pay their fair share. I will lobby for that to make sure that we get our fair share. These are the things that we require to keep a vital community. Roads are very important. Make sure that safety, such as fire and ambulance, can get down those roads. Those are things that we require. We just need to maintain them, and we put a project in place, there's a program in place, just as Tiffany had mentioned, about moving forward and using that money down the road to make sure the roads are maintained. I've driven through the States, and some of the smaller counties have all asphalted roads. At some point, we should start using the money and utilizing it and making asphalt roads. We see that we've got certain roads that are done by certain councillors that lived on those roads. Those things have to stop. We have to plan it and make sure that we're spending the money properly so that the roads are utilized for the betterment of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, please talk about roads, infrastructure, and drainage.
Drainage and roads are two of the items that are mandated by the Municipal Act. They tell us that we must have roads acceptable for the uses that were intended, and similarly a priority list of drainage that require upgrade. Drainage is relevant not only for the rural areas but the urban centers as well. We had a flooding issue at the southwest corner of Oakbank as well as the northeast corner in Enola. which required a significant amount of money to alleviate the problem. I was on the board of directors for the Manitoba Conservation Directors Association and the Cooks Creek CD for a number of years. I was also drainage surveyor for several years. We currently are doing full cuts in our ditches to try and improve the drainage. We are shifting our emphasis to retention detention for two reasons. One is we can store water for a period of time, then release the water slower after a flood threat has passed. And we will have the ability to store water in case of a drought and release water as needed. We have also developed a master transportation plan, both in the municipality and the capital region. Both support our request to the provincial government to provide another crossing at Cedar Lake Road, which we should definitely be looking at as an alternate route to Winnipeg. Thank you.
Thank you. The order for the next question will be Tiffany, Vince, Bob, and then Ken. And the question regards water. Please give your views regarding water supply and security. Please comment on managing risks to the quality and quantity of the water in the future, and specifically how you view present or future residential, agricultural, or industrial practices as they relate to water supply and security. Tiffany.
Thank you, Linton. As an RM, we are blessed to have access to sources of clean, potable water to serve our needs. Our water supply comes from within our boundaries, and of course we need to protect it. It is ours, and we need to create policies that protect and conserve our valuable water source. Recently, we've made progress with reestablishing not only the groundwater monitoring wells at the decommissioned Hillside landfill, but we will be reviewing the water quality testing from these wells on a regular basis. In our proposed development plan, we have policies to protect the type and amount of development in areas that would affect our aquifers. We are just completing an aquifer capability study, which maps the parameters of groundwater across the whole municipality. We will then be able to put into place a source water protection plan, a requirement of the province, which will identify the actions we need to undertake to ensure our groundwater is protected. Our water is a very valuable resource, not only to us, but to future generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Vince, please talk about water supply and security.
The development plan goes into a lot of detail on this. I have learned that the groundwater management is also a provincial responsibility, although the RM will assist in the protection of our water resources. Development projects should be directed to areas where the risk of groundwater pollution is low. Developers may be asked to undertake specific groundwater or geological reports to address the RM's concerns for groundwater protection and sustainability. High-risk pollution activities should be restricted to public drinking water sources and the source protection areas. Examples include chemical fertilizer storage, disposal fields, fuel tanks, waste disposal grounds, water treatment facilities. Again, in adopting the development plan will provide council with necessary direction to ensure the safety and sustainability of our drinking water. We're on the biggest aquifer. We're on the Moose Nose Aquifer, which is underneath us. Our water is pristine. We have to look at where we're going to allow asphalt plants, temporary asphalt plants to be placed. We have to look at all those areas to make sure that our water is protected. It's important. Our water is our blood, same as our bodies. We need it to survive and live. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, water supply and security.
We're currently engaged with a consultant to complete an aquifer availability and vulnerability study, which identifies the aquifers available to Springfield and the potential risks there are to the water supply. One of the serious threats to our water supply is the location of our previous municipal dump. We are trying to ensure proper capping of this site and are doing water tests for influence of contaminants at the monitoring wells located near the dump site. During the clean environment hearings for the floodway expansion, there were a number of recommendations that we made to try and protect our water supply. I believe that out of the 20 plus recommendations we made, the majority of those recommendations were accepted. We are presently in the process of identifying another water source which will provide an alternative to the Moose Nose aquifer. And we have completed those 2 retention areas that Ken talked about earlier that can help in purifying our water as we route the water through this retention areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, water supply and security.
Well, if you talk to the people in Flint, Michigan, you'd say that water's pretty important. It's our most valuable resource. About 55 years ago, there was a project done in Springfield that really affected its aquifers. How many people remember when the floodway was dug? Only a couple? That's why I got gray hair. Pretty much all the wells along the floodway that were in close proximity went dry. The water table was affected as far back as Enola. This year, in a dry year, you see the center channel in the floodway, it's full of water all the time. That's groundwater seeping out of the aquifer because they cut into the aquifer. So that's lost every day on a project that was done by the government. We have 2 aquifers in Springfield. We have the carbonate or limestone aquifer above at the top, and we have the sandstone or Winnipeg Formation below. Very fortunate to have a lot of water. At the ends, towards the northeast end of Springfield and south west, there is pockets of salty water. One of the reasons why water was put into Dugald. You have to remember about 10 years ago, the boiled water advisory in Enola. It was caused by an old style of the way wells were built. And water got seeped back into the aquifer and was contaminated. So water and sewer had to be put in at a huge cost. Any new well that's put in is actually a risk to the aquifer because it's a conduit down to the water. We need to work with the public to educate people that they should have mounds of dirt, their wells should be built up, they shouldn't be putting a gas can on top of their well. Just things that they should not do. We need to work with the gravel industry. The people who are working in recharge areas, they don't want to contaminate the aquifer. There isn't a company that could afford to do that. They want to be proactive. We have to work with them. The Cooks Creek Conservation District has had a decommissioning program where if you have an old well and you're not using it, it should be filled in and closed off, seal off the aquifer. As was mentioned, there's monitoring wells at the old hillside dump, and they're looking for a new source of water for Dugald that can be backfed to Oak Bank, just in case there's a problem with Oak Bank's wells. Thank you.
Thank you. We're on to question 10. The order for this question will be Vince, Bob, Ken, Tiffany. And it deals with ward borders and boundaries. What would be your plan with respect to ward boundaries, and how many wards would you have? Vince.
Back in July, we had the opportunity to take care of this problem, and the previous council didn't do it. The municipal board had a meeting. They came in and they said that we had to do something for proper representation for the people. It didn't happen. They kept putting it off, coming up with different ideas, and ending up not having that opportunity for us to move forward. The municipal, I would look at different options, and it would be the best to come up with the best solutions and to benefit with all of the RM with the public input. It's an area of great concern for me, and I pledge that if I am elected to the new council, I will investigate all options to ensure fair representation on council for all residents of the RM. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, please talk about ward boundaries and how many wards.
I think with the ward boundaries, we have to go back to the Municipal Act. Municipal Act makes reference to using the ward system for elections to select councillors, but when you make decisions, they are done on what is best for the rural municipality in totality. Personally, I would leave the number of council members the same as they currently are. The logic that I use is that there are usually very few tied votes, which defeats a motion. If we look back at over the last few years, you can count on the number of tied votes on your hand. If the vote is tied 3-3, it should go back to council. We should reconsider it again and come up with another recommendation. Without that safeguard, a lot of issues would be decided on a 4-3 split with no chance of reconsideration. Besides, what it does do is it saves approximately $250,000 over a 4-year term. And when funding is required for so many different items in the municipality, I think that we should save the money when and where we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, please talk about ward boundaries and number of wards.
This is a good one. This council had 4 years to do this. They knew they had to do it. They didn't. They got a job. That's their job. They didn't do it. It's not that hard to do with computer programs. You move a line, gives you the population. A couple of weeks' work, we're not even, but have someone come in and go over a few alternatives, and you can get it done. Now there's a government order that it has to be done. Well, of course, the new council will do it if there's winds of change. We've seen an even number for quite a while, and I think it causes problems. I think an odd number that you'd have no tie votes would be the best thing. Set with a council total of 7. But I think you have to remember that if you're elected to council, you better be prepared to work and to do your job. And if any of you don't do your work, you don't get paid. Maybe that should be the same thing.
Tiffany, ward boundaries and number of wards.
Thank you. First, as an RM, we need fair representation by population. This is fundamental to our Canadian democracy. And as it stands right now, there is a large portion of Springfield's population that is being underrepresented. Second, over the last 4 years, I have seen many votes on important issues being deadlocked by a 3-3 vote, which means the issue dies and Springfield doesn't move forward. I have no preference for the number of wards in RM, but what I would like to see is an odd number sitting around that table, so that when issues are voted on, a definitive answer can be given to the public. There are a number of options in regards to ward boundaries, and this needs to be addressed promptly after the election so that wards are balanced correctly. Third, Council has recently reviewed our procedural bylaw. One amendment that I requested be added to this bylaw that on a go-forward basis, all votes would be recorded votes. I believe that transparency when in public office is an absolute requirement. And by all votes being recorded, constituents will be able to see where council members stand on an issue and how they voted. Thank you.
Keep that mic, Tiffany. You're up first for the next question, followed by Vince, Ken, and Bob. And the question is, your thoughts on the appropriate level of community and public involvement with council, both at council meetings and outside of council meetings. What are the methods by which input should be received and information disseminated to the public? Tiffany.
Thanks, Linton. There is a wealth of knowledge in Springfield, and I recognize there are residents with good ideas and suggestions. I welcome and value public input, and I would like to find more ways to make it easy for people to have a say. In regards to council meetings, we do follow Robert's Rules of Order in order to run professional and efficient meetings and get things accomplished for Springfield. But there should also be a process to follow in regards to public input, perhaps a question period at the end of each meeting, or a question/suggestion box where ideas and issues can anonymously be provided to the RM. Other ways to gather public input are holding open houses and forums wherever applicable and having public delegations at meetings. It is important that we create a comfortable environment for people to have their say. Another way to effectively connect and communicate with residents is with newsletters, emails, social media, and having an online presence, attending events and fundraisers throughout Springfield as well. If constituents choose not to read the information, that is your choice, but it is a priority for me that the information is freely flowing and easily accessible. Thank you.
Thank you, Vince. And then it's going to be Ken and Bob. So Vince, please talk about community and public involvement, both inside and outside of council meetings.
Public input is wanted, necessary, and the basis of democracy. It's our right to go out and vote. I would make a motion forward to have a town hall meeting once a month to actually listen to your concerns. I've been shut down at a few meetings, asking why am I talking, asking the questions. That's not the way to treat public. We need to be informed by doing it by newspaper, by email, by whatever it takes to inform the public. Robert's Rules of Order guides the conduct of orderly meetings at council meetings. I understand that. But we have a right as taxpayers to hear our voices, people to hear our voices, the council. That's why we're electing them. We just have the opportunity to, to council and staff to regularly provide news. Here's an example. Why are we behind 5 months in our financials? How do we know where we're going? So how is that being publicly acknowledged? Do we know that we're 5 months behind in our finances? No. How do we run our municipality when we don't know how much money is sitting in the bank? This council has not put priorities and goals and timelines for this administration to move forward to try and rectify these problems. We're putting things like, did anybody know about the 14 projects we were supposed to be putting forward, and the administration only put 4 forward into the feds for the money? We're losing out on so much. News has to be out there so people understand what's going on, so that they can make a difference and have their voice heard. We all pay taxes. We all want our voices heard. That's the reason why we vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, please talk about community and public involvement.
Community involvement in council meetings. Council meetings are an animal of themselves, and they can get out of hand. Hooting, hollering, yelling, clapping. Linton's described some of it. But you got to remember, when you get elected to council, and it's not all fun and games, it's blood, sweat, and tears, if you care. There's tough decisions to make, and you'll have sleepless nights, I guarantee it. You're dealing with people's lives. You need to take it seriously. We need to engage people more. I've been a proponent, it never happened, of using the local newspaper. Not saying that they should get rich on it, but that we should put things in there that's positive to inform people. We need a new website as far as I'm concerned. We need an open house once or twice a year so you can come down to the municipal office or public works, see the equipment, see what you've bought, see what they do with it, see what the plans are, talk to the employees. We talked about democracy. Where's democracy when no one answers your phone call? I've been going door to door across the RM, and what a job from one end to the other. It's great. There's even a huge difference in geography in Springfield. But the biggest concern I've been told is that people can't get their calls returned. And that's not right. How hard is it to return a phone call, to do your job? Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Please talk about community and public involvement with council.
I believe personally that we have moved in the right direction with public involvement and consultations. The more opportunity that the public can express their opinions, the more thorough is the discussion and the more ideas are presented. We do need to change the procedural bylaw such that there is a question and answer period established as regular procedure. Information dissemination can occur by email if we collected all the emails on our website. I used my own email list to inform many of the residents in Ward 1 in the past. In the 4 years since we've taken office, we've adopted an agenda to be more consultative, open, transparent, and empathetic towards residents' concerns. We have engaged the public in open houses regarding significant issues in the municipality. We've addressed the need for a strategic plan, policing requirements, master transportation plan, and master recreation plan. We have done considerable work towards protecting our most valuable resources, potable water. We have almost completed the new development plan. While not perfect, we've come a long way. The consultation process for the development plan included 16 open houses to gather information from the public. Our regular agenda engages with the public on a regular basis, something I've been criticized for, letting the people speak, but I refuse to stop that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, you got the mic for the next one, followed by Bob, Vince, and Tiffany. This is our last of the questions that the candidates had an opportunity to prepare for, and that is regarding joint ventures or shared service agreements with other jurisdictions. What are your views of the RM entering into joint ventures or shared service agreements with other jurisdictions in the Winnipeg Capital Region, or even with private organizations? Ken.
Joint ventures are a great thing. We currently do a lot of that. Boundary road agreements with other municipalities, mutual aid with fire departments. We have the Taché Springfield Weed Board that we work together on. Cook Street Conservation District is made up of a whole bunch of municipalities. We're with the trading company for the AMM purchasing with all other municipalities to get a better deal. We're involved with the Capital Region. It's a really good thing. But you have to make sure that your interests are protective and you just don't sign things away. So you always got to be vigilant and keep your eye on things because we're dealing with your money.
Thank you. Bob, joint ventures and shared services.
As Ken mentioned, we currently have some joint ventures and shared services agreements with other jurisdictions in the Winnipeg Capital Region. We have boundary agreements with the municipalities that share their boundary roads with us. We also have mutual fire aid, road maintenance, transfer station use by Broken Head, purchase of firefighting equipment. Unfortunately, the one thing that we can't share with the city is the water supply. And that's because of a long-standing agreement that the city of Winnipeg has with bands 39 and 40 in Ontario. We are also on the Northeast Lobby Group, and we currently do not have any public-private partnerships, but this may be the way to proceed for a solution to recreation shortfalls, where the private sector builds the facility and leases it back to the municipality. And with the cost of some of the recreation facilities, it's probably the way we're going to have to go to and make sure that we get them.
Thank you. Vince, you're up next with respect to joint ventures and shared service agreements.
I believe in the joint ventures and shared service agreements. Our municipality is not an island, and we are located in the most densely populated area within the province of Manitoba, or within the populated. I believe in the 3P system. I think the 3P system with the 3P public-private partnerships would work well in this RM. But again, we have to make sure that we're being treated properly and we have fair and representation when it comes to the tax dollars, your tax dollars being spent. They make sense. They'll make us money in the end because we don't have to send all the services as far as we have to down that area. We can share it once a year, twice a year, whatever the case may be, to make sure that those agreements are in place. It's all about saving money, folks. I guess what it comes down to, as long as we can make an agreement with certain companies or certain RMs around us, we'll save money. It comes down to our tax dollars being spent the wrong way, and this will give us an opportunity to keep those tax dollars and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiffany, please speak to the issue of joint ventures and shared service agreements.
I believe that Springfield should enter into joint ventures and shared service agreements where it makes fiscal sense and or provides our residents with better levels of service. For example, with this election, we have partnered up with the Sunrise School Division for one-stop voting. So you'll be handed 3 ballots for Reeve counselor and school trustee when you go out to vote, and you will not have to take the time to go to another polling station and line up again to vote. You can do it all at once. We also have boundary agreements between neighboring municipalities providing for road maintenance and snow clearing. We're also part of mutual aid for firefighting. And recently, a couple years ago now, we joined the Capital Region Buying Group, so we purchased firefighter equipment through the Capital Region. And I believe if a joint venture or a shared service agreement is good for Springfield, then I think it is a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we move to the lightning round. Sorry, now we move to questions from the audience. By the way, thank you very much for your massive cooperation in terms of letting these folks just give you their opinions. Your reward is you got to send me a bunch of questions that I had to choose between what to ask. So I'll quickly tell you the criteria. If I thought the question was already been addressed, it's not going to get asked. If I think all you did was write an argument instead of ask a question, it didn't likely make it. But the first criteria for making the list is the most popular question. And believe it or not, are you ready for it? Libraries. Libraries was the most popular question from the audience. What are your views and policies on libraries and the funding of public libraries, either by us or the province, and how we would address those issues? Hit the button. Vince, you're up first.
I believe public libraries are very important for the simple fact that it brings the community together. This library that we've got now is not just a library. We've developed it into programs for seniors, for children, for young adults. Libraries are very important. I believe that's the center of knowledge. That's where people learn, again, get together. I was the chair of the library for 3 years, and we brought these programs forward. We had a $287,000 budget, and we always brought it in below budget. I think the libraries are a functioning part of any community. It's important. We get $6 for every person on our assessment, and the other is matched by the municipality. So something like that, to me, is very important. It brings people together. We've developed more than just a library. We've developed a community center for the whole RM of Springfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, you're up next.
You know, when the internet first came out, they said there wasn't going to be any books anymore. You wouldn't need one. Vince is completely right about the library. It's a great thing, and it's really turned into a social place, not just for people to go and read, but for people to meet, sit together. A really positive thing for the municipality. It's really shone or has shined in a way that of community involvement. It's the kind of thing you'd really like to see. It's really popular. It's done really well. And it's just one of those things you wouldn't necessarily expect happen, but it has happened. So you want to continue to support that. It's extremely important. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, please talk about libraries.
I think we have one of the finest libraries in the province. Currently, we have a good selection of books. What we don't have is we can obtain currently from other libraries as well in exchange. But as Ken mentioned, it is more than a gathering place for reading books. It's an opportunity to get together, to meet your friends, and play a game of canasta. And that, I think, occurs probably every Tuesday or every Wednesday during the daytime. It does provide opportunities for people to get away from the everyday stress at home and bring their children down to read over a number of the books that are available for the children at the library. In all, I think that we should be proud to have it as a library. And it certainly would have made a nice municipal office as well, but we'll use it for what it is right now. Thanks.
Thank you. Tiffany, libraries.
Well, when I see our library, I actually call it one of the gems of Springfield. I think we're all very, very blessed to have such a facility, and it's so much more than a place to get books. And it's great for that too. But whenever I've gone there, there's seniors programming, there's kids programming, they're having a dinner or a lunch celebrating the seniors age-friendly committee. We do so much out of that library. I was just there for a fundraiser last week, and it was wonderful to see even the local talent that was put on display there with the photos and the paintings. So I think we need to encourage all kinds more programs to come into that library. As a council, I think it's fantastic that we support it and you all support the library, and we also receive funding from the province, and we need to continue with doing that. And as a council, we should be working with them to achieve their goals to make that library even better for Springfield residents. Thank you.
Thank you. The next most popular question related to the RM's relationship with the school division. And there was a number of questions which ranged from, should we be lobbying for particular vocational programs? What do you think of the expenditures within the school division relative to Springfield and Brokenhead and the resources they're spending there? And what influence do you see us having with respect to school division policy? You can address any or all of those in your 3 minutes. And the order is going to be, Tiffany, you're up first.
So I figured this question might come up. So as a municipality, we need to work closely with the Sunrise School Division because Springfield has the largest population base and the greatest growth in the Sunrise School Division. Springfield has half of the students in Sunrise, and some of those are my kids. But Springfield residents pay half of the total taxes for Sunrise. In terms of job recruitment, we are closer to Winnipeg than Beausejour is. So locating resources and programs here in Springfield makes sense. Currently, Sunrise School Division is looking for a space for their clinicians. These clinicians look after some of our special needs of our students in Springfield. Due to the simple fact, as mentioned earlier, that half of the Sunrise students live in our RM, Sunrise should be looking for space for those clinicians right here in Springfield. So these staff are spending their times in our schools with the students and not on the road traveling back and forth to Beausejour. Sunrise is also looking for space for vocational programming for students. In their 2014 capital plan, this project was supposed to be created in Springfield. I would encourage Sunrise to continue with that plan and ensure that the vocational school is placed in the bus garage located right here in Oakbank beside the building that we're in. It is no longer used as a bus garage since the new mega school bus garage was built in Beausejour a few years ago. Brokenhead Beausejour Development Corporation is actively pursuing the vocational programming located in Beausejour. Springfield should be talking to Sunrise too. I will continue to build a strong relationship with the school division and encourage them to change their focus and consider Springfield as a correct location for resources for our students because half of their students and half of their funding come from here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, you're up next. School division, please.
Thank you. Currently, I think with the new council, we started having meetings on a regular basis with the school division, and I think that we have certainly improved our position with them and understanding. I do believe, like Tiffany, is that because we are the largest contributor towards the school taxes, that there should be more consideration given for Springfield when some of these opportunities come up to make use of the facilities. From what I understand, the use of the old bus garage is not a suitable one for the classroom. Well, I'm more concerned with the ability to using the school grounds for recreation, which we currently don't do. And to me, I think that that's one way to go in and supplement our ability to provide different facilities for the children to use.
Thank you. Ken. School Division.
Of course, it's important to work with the school division. They're here. They're part of us. They're looking after your kids. We have the same problems. We have budget problems. I believe about 83 or 84% of the school division's budget is salaries. They don't have a lot of money to work with. They struggle too, but they're looking after your kids. So it's important that we work together. And we should meet probably on a regular basis, maybe quarterly, so we can develop relationships, and maybe there's ways of funding projects together so that we both save money. As I said before, it's time we started working together.
Thank you. Vince, School Division.
I believe the school division is very important. Out of the 15 schools that are located in this the Sunrise School Division, 9 of them are located in the RM of Springfield. The bus garage should be put here. Recently, we were at a meeting of a bunch of the concerned citizens. We were informed by the trustee, Diane Duma, that they were going to put a clinician's clinic together for $2.3 million. When they had an opportunity to go and rent space, they were going to take that money and spend it on administration, on buildings for their clinicians. Well, I think it should have been invested here. I believe that we should be sitting down with the school trustees on a regular basis and informing us of what's going on so that we can make proper decisions and support her when it comes to spending the taxes in our division. Right now, we need a chemistry lab, we need a computer lab, we need another elementary school. With the amount of children that are being brought in here, we need another elementary school. We've got the expansion going on in Dougald right now, but I think it's more important that we support the trustees to make sure that our money that's going out there is being spent properly. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question relates to the Municipal Police Service. Your view of their role, expanding or contracting, and if you view it expanding, where do you get the funds to do that? And first up is Vince. Keep that mic.
I believe this police service is important, and the reason being is that for every RCMP that we don't have right now, we have the opportunity to use the Springfield Police. Mark, our Chief of Police, has got some great ideas. He's using the program or the profile that they use up in the Winnipeg Beach or Gimli, where they have a certain amount that they're using as a full-time, and the rest of them are coming in as part-time. That $155,000 that we'd be spending with the RCMP would pay for 2 employees full-time or 4 employees part-time. He's got some great ideas. I think it would work well in this community. We need the involvement. We need people going out and seeing the police around so that we don't have. A couple of years ago, if I remember correctly, we had one of the councillors report to the Clipper that we don't have any police service between the hours of 11 and 7 in the morning. Well, shortly after that, we had break-ins in Oak Bank. We had break-ins in the rural communities. We had break-ins everywhere. Why? Because they shouldn't have printed it, first of all. Because they know that we have no police service. We need to look at different avenues to try and protect and make sure that our safety is there. He's got some great ideas. I support him. I think we can get a great value out of our police service. Thank you.
Thank you. Tiffany, the Police Service.
Thank you. Public safety is of the highest priority for me. Our Springfield Police Service has a very important role in our RM. There is a real need for our police service, and under no circumstance should we be closing them down. As we all know, RCMP resources across Canada are stretched very thin. The RCMP are the governing law enforcement body in Springfield, and I do not believe that Springfield should be duplicating RCMP services. Our local police force should be focusing on community policing and ensuring the safety of our residents. The police board recently hired a new police chief for the Springfield Police Service, and I think he is doing a fantastic job and making some very real changes. Springfield currently budgets $430,000 for our Springfield police force. From all my campaigning door-to-door throughout Springfield, I have listened to your suggestions and requests, and I have relayed those back to our police chief. What our residents are asking for and what they see the highest need to be is an increased presence overnight, policing at our gravel pits, and working with the community on positive initiatives in Springfield. Our police force should be utilized specifically for Springfield needs and what our residents are looking and asking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, Police Service.
A few years ago, I'm sure all of you heard about Taman Inquiry and the province putting regulations for private police forces for municipalities. And they had to have a police board to look after it, removed from council. So you need to have a good police board to have good police. We've lost 3 police chiefs in the last 4 years. Why? That's the first question. You need to solve that problem. Of course, it's important to have police, and we need to increase the number of police that we have. We also need a bylaw officer. Municipalities love to write bylaws. We want to control everything that you do. And then they get tucked in a drawer and no one ever looks at them again. It's good to know, eh? We need to be enforcing them. Not hounding people, but there's real problems out there with bylaw infractions that need to be dealt with. So we need to fix our police board or look at it to see why we've lost all these police chiefs, first of all. And then we need to support the officers and the police chief we have. I've met with him. I've met with the staff sergeant in Oak Bank. Really good people. So let's support them and make the community safe. It's not that hard.
Bob, the Police Service.
One of the priorities of Springfield in its strategic plan is the safety of our community. So obviously we want to provide that safety by operating our own police force. And certainly the person we now have in there is very charismatic, and he's also has good plan for the future, including utilizing more staff in summer than in wintertime, just because nothing happens in Manitoba and when it's minus 40 degrees. I'm very happy with the police force. I think it could be expanded in terms of its role, because I think there's enough things happening in our certain areas of the municipality that would be curtailed very quickly if there was police presence around. So I'm hoping that we can expand the program in the future.
Thank you. Next question relates to recreation. There's been a few questions coming in recreation, so I'm just going to leave it open to you folks to address recreation in whatever terms you see fit. And Vince, you're up first.
I believe recreation is very important. It's important for the health of the community. It's important for the health of the constituents of this RM. I have a plan that if I do get elected, this is what I would like to see. There's always opportunities for building a community center. I see a community being built, community centers being built all through and they're growing. They're growing with the amount of people because they're interested in what's going on in the community. With a rec center, I think it's an opportunity to put it in an area that would be determined with public input to bring it forward and to build it. Start with the community center. I've talked to a number of people. Community centers are being built all over, and they're being rented out. You can see Enola's making money, Dougal's making money, Cooks Creek are making money. That would be the first step. Again, the decision of putting it would be something with public consultation involved. I believe it would be in the best interest to put it in the most populated area of the RM, which would be Oak Bank. That would give us the most usage. I would build it like a Lego set. The second phase that I would put in would be a soccer pitch. You ask why? Because we've already got a hockey arena that we can utilize for this point, but a soccer pitch would be really important. I talked to the gentleman over the one that owned the Waverly one, Waverly and McGilvery, I think it is. They rent them from 7 o'clock in the morning till midnight every day at $250 an hour with low maintenance. There's another source of income. The third thing that I would be putting in would be an arena. Arena now, we would be drawing people from the city of Winnipeg to rent the ice space. Our ice space is pretty much rented right through this whole community that is indoors. There you have 3 levels or 3 centers of income coming in. You could rent out your community club, you could rent out the soccer pitch, and you could rent out the hockey rink. The other one I would still leave in place because that can be used for different recreation, indoor soccer, basketball, lacrosse. We used to have a team here that had lacrosse. Once you get those streams in place, the pool would be the third thing or the fourth thing that I would put in, because the 3 coming in of streams of money would offset the cost of the pool. Our taxes would not go up. It's just building it and planning it properly to make sure that we have those things in place first. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, recreation.
Obviously, recreation is important, and I mentioned the stories about my past. We grew up in a little community called Highland Glen, and there was nothing available for anyone to do. What we did on the family farm is we ended up making a rink almost the regulation size that was available for all of the residents in the area to use. One of the things that we've done as a municipality is we have engaged a consultant to come up with a master recreation plan, and we have followed it almost to the T, and that includes spending about close to $1 million a year on the activities for the municipality. And I think that the recommendation that they had was that they couldn't find it in the best interest of the municipality to create some of the things that we would like. They said that we couldn't afford a swimming pool because the maintenance of it is too expensive. The capital money you can always come up with, but the maintenance of pretty much any of these facilities make it prohibitive to use. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Ken, you're up next on recreation.
I used to be on the Springfield track team running the 1,500 meters. That was about 40 pounds ago, I think, or at least. Of course, recreation is important. It's important for the kids. You have the schools, but it's important for seniors. It's important for everybody. I was part of working in Enola on building the new hall. You should have seen the old one. How many of you were in it? Put your hands up, please. It should have been condemned 20 years ago. We had to find a different engineer every year to approve it so you could walk in the door. But it got done. Cook's Creek's getting done. I came up with a plan, talked to some people, and it's just an idea of building an indoor soccer facility with a running track that they can use for the track teams and hold track meets, with a daycare and seating. Nothing too extravagant. $12 million. $2 million from the residents, $2 million from businesses, $2 million from the RM, $3 million from the province, and $3 million from the feds. I think we can do that, and I think we could do better than that, raising money. And if we raise more money, we build more. But if we don't start, we will never, ever get there. If you have an $80 million project, I don't think you'll get it done. But you build it so you can add on to it, like Vince said. We need to do something.
Thank you. Tiffany, recreation.
Thank you. I believe that recreation is important to all ages and demographics, from our little ones right into our amazing senior population that we have. Recreation helps us create a community of communities in Springfield. The Recreation Master Plan was completed a few years ago, and a number of open houses were held during this process to get as much public input as possible. The plan was adopted, and throughout our budget cycles, we have adhered to the recommendations that came out of that Rec Master Plan. Throughout the last 4 years, I have been extremely supportive of rec initiatives, not only in Ward 5, but across the RM. A few examples of these recreation projects include In Ward 5, the Dougal Community Club had a substantial indoor renovation, as well as our facilities manager, Doug, did a great job of making it accessible up to the provincial standards. We asphalted the outdoor skating rink in Dugald. There was upgrades done to the Dugald ball diamonds, and Gillespie Park was recently replaced. There was upgrades to the Springfield Curling Club, which included handicap accessibility upgrades that are now at the provincial standard as well. A number of additional rec projects happened in other wards. Springfield got Oakbank had a new portable skate park. Lions Park and Kin Place and Oakbank have been completely replaced. Vivian Park was upgraded. There were significant improvements made to the Hazel Ridge Arena. And Cooks Creek Community Club received a contribution from council for their exciting expansion project. Our 5-year capital plan also includes a number of fantastic rec initiatives over the next 5 years. I will continue to support these initiatives, as well as work with community groups, the business community, and other levels of government to ensure that maximum grants and funding will be acquired and utilized for upcoming projects. I want to see and will work towards this type of positive growth across Springfield. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to put one more question from the floor. Again, apologies to those of you who sent in a question, but I went with the ones that had more than one person asking it, and there's a few very good questions that are going to get left out, but in the interest of time, we're going to put one more question to the candidates, and then we're going to let them make a closing statement. And this question is pretty general, but it was asked by a few people. How do you view the role of the Reeve as the leader of council, as distinct from other councillors? How do you view that role with respect to coordinating and getting the group to work together as one, and your role when you don't have a ward that you particularly represent, both as leader of council and as a general representative? The role of the Reeve. And Ken, you're up first on that.
Got a lot of time to think about that one. The Reeve only has one vote. No more, no less than anybody else on council. So you have to work together. Like I said, we need to work together. You have to try and build a consensus. It's not an easy thing to do. Everybody's got their own opinions, their own ideas, but it's for the betterment of the municipality. You need to build a team. You need to build a winning team. And by the way, Linton, there is the Bombers too, not just the Jets in Manitoba. The Reeve is the head of council, but also represents the municipality at different events and throughout the province or wherever there's anything else going on. And it's something that you have to take very seriously. And I just think with my experience from council and political experience that I could do the job. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob, the role of the Reeve.
The role of the Reeve is intended to, I think, try and represent the municipality as best as possible. And again, you have to be knowledgeable in fairly much everything that we cover off in the development plan, in our municipal act, in our own bylaws. You have to have, but you also have to have council members that think not only along the same line, but think about respect for other people. And quite often you can only do so much with that respect, or sometimes lack of respect. And I think that certainly it would be nice to be able to control how people act, but that's almost an impossibility sometimes. Obviously we want all our council to get along, but you also want people that are thinking freely and not operating as a unit in terms of pre-planned exercises. And what we want to be careful about is that, again, that we do have free thinking. You work as a team, but by the same token, you expect people to have differing opinions of the way to operate the municipality.
Thank you. Tiffany, the role of the Reeve.
Save the best for last, eh, Linton? As everyone knows, the Reeve is only one vote on council, but I firmly believe that the Reeve sets the tone for how the next 4 years are going to go. A cohesive council is based upon the mutual understanding that not all votes are going to go a certain way, but when an issue is voted on, the issue is done and we need to move on to get things accomplished in Springfield. Every member of the new council needs to build relationships with each other and come to understand other members of council, their skills, why they ran, what they want to see achieved in the RM over their next 4-year term. And as Reeve, I plan to facilitate a meeting where goals for the RM can be established and launch a plan with strategies to complete this goal. Thank you.
Vince, the role of the Reeve.
The role of the Reeve is the face of this RM. He needs to show leadership qualities. He needs to show how to control things, control the money, control the aspects of how things are going on, to try and motivate the people that work for him or work for the RM to get the best things possibly done for the least amount of money, for tax dollars. Leadership is something that I believe in. It's important. It gives us the qualities that we require to move things forward. Leadership is something that I was taught a long time ago as a kid. My father used to say to me, your reputation is the most important thing that will precede you. Being a leader of a community is very important. It creates a lot of anticipation, trying to work with people, trying to get along with people. I think that's very important, to try and get a compromise. We all can work within a community. We all have different interests for different wards, but I believe we're all responsible for the RM, not just the Reeve, not just the councillors, everybody. But we need a strong leader to make sure that things are moved forward. I'm one of those pit-bull ones that just goes after something and just keeps going. I would lobby the governments to make sure that we get our fair share of taxes coming back. Again, the Reeve is a very important position. It does set the tone for the next 4 years, just as Tiffany said, but we need to start asking the right questions. We need to start wondering where our tax dollars are going, and that's what I'm prepared to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the last item on the agenda is a closing wrap-up statement from each of you. I'm going to give you 4 minutes each for this, and or less. And Tiffany, you're up first.
Besides being able to view the video of tonight's forum on the Chamber's Facebook page, I will be posting all my answers on my website and my personal Facebook page. I am available for questions right after this forum, or you can text, email, call me, or message me on Facebook or Instagram. In addition, I'm going to give you some voting information. So early voting has already started. It's available Monday through Friday at the RM office from 8:30 to 4:30 until October 19th. The office will be opened on the 13th from 8 to 8, which is a Saturday. If you choose, I hear there's a Jets game on election night, so you might want to exercise your democratic right to go vote early. And election day is October 24th. If you are unsure about where you're supposed to vote or where your polling station is, I also brought that information with me. You can come and chat with me after the forum as well. We live in an RM that is wonderfully diverse, and that diversity needs to be celebrated. Projects and initiatives need to move forward and be completed in a timely manner. Springfield residents do pay a lot of taxes and expect results from council. A lot of planning has been done over the last few years, but now it is time to get things done, progressing, and we need to move forward. I do look forward to taking on this new leadership role as your Reeve, focusing on your priorities and accomplishing great things for Springfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob. closing statement, please.
I think that the one thing that we all need to be aware of is that this isn't a popularity contest, and sometimes the role of a Reeve requires tough decisions to be made. One of the way to judge how good somebody is going to do is past experience. And if we look at what we have done in term of time in office and what we've accomplished, it gives a good idea of who we should have leading the municipality. And if you look carefully at the successes during my 16-year term, I think that you'll agree that there's more to look at than just a popularity contest. If you do a return on investment for the staff that we have and for the positions that we occupy as Reeve, you will notice that in the past 16 years, they talk about the cost of council. Over the last 16 years, I have definitely brought in a lot more money than what my position has cost. And that's the way it should be with Reeve as far as council members are concerned. We shouldn't be concerned about what it costs to have a councillor or a Reeve in place that can get things done. Over the past year, and I don't know if all of you can remember some of the roads and that we had in place. A good example is Gun Road, where we had lawsuits against us because of people falling into the gravel holes or into the holes that were along the road. We now have probably the best road system in the municipality, in the industrial area, and that came at almost virtually no cost to the taxpayer of Springfield. When we had the floodway expanded, we were able to negotiate, and I personally did the negotiation for the municipality and ended up with close to $1 million of infrastructure done, and again, at no cost to the taxpayer. When we improved the road system in the industrial area, it was done on a local improvement district, which meant that the average residential taxpayer paid absolutely nothing for the improvement of the finest system of roads that we have. I personally negotiated the sale of municipal land in the industrial area, and again, worked with the city of Winnipeg to achieve over $5 million in funding for Gun Road and the associated couple other roads that are attached to it. So that is the sign of a good Reeve, as far as I'm concerned, able to bring infrastructure into the province and into the municipality at no cost to you. And that's what I'll continue to do, is to try and keep the taxes down, but still bring the services that we need within the RM. Thank you.
Thank you. Ken, your closing statement.
Well, I'm going to read some of this because I don't want to miss anything out. I have chosen to run for the position of Reeve for Springfield because I feel I have the experience that's necessary. My 3 terms as a councillor is 12 years. 12 years as a councillor in Springfield is like 20 years anywhere else. My added knowledge now with Public Works Department and operations, my political skills, I think have set me up perfect for this job. And this really is a job interview, and I've worked my whole life to get to this job interview. I like to find solutions to difficult problems and to work towards improving situations and building for the future. You ever wonder what to do with your papers at the end of the night when you're done with your speech? Well, we're almost at the end, so. This position is about respect, hard work, ethics, transparency, the ability to listen and to show compassion. The latest I have worked on council business when I was a councillor was 3 a.m. The earliest I got up to do council business was 4 a.m. Not afraid of hard work. I love politics, I don't know why, and have many friends in all political parties and the civil service. And if you're on council, I don't think you should belong to a political party, because you need to work with all of them. Almost threw that one away before I was finished. One of my fondest memories working for the RM is working with the staff, caring, dedicated people I really respect. We need to be fiscally responsible with your money and put money back in your pockets. But most of all, I believe that the potential for Springfield is endless. If we can work together, we can make Springfield the envy of every other municipality and leave a jewel behind for future generations. Please go out and vote.
Thank you. Vince, your closing statement, please.
Yes. Thank you very much for having the opportunity to stand in front of you and answer some of these difficult questions. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the chamber. What I see as a Reeve and I see as this council going forward is we need to look at the opportunities that are in front of us and take those opportunities. Have the right type of environment for this RM. From children to seniors, we need to look at the future. I may not be politically inclined like the rest of them. I've not had experience in politics. But what I do believe I have is the tenacity and the will. I work 14, 15 hours a day now. I'm working 7 days a week. I take off 2 days a year between me and my children, Christmas and Easter. I will work hard for you to make sure that we get the best value for our tax dollars, make the administration accountable to make sure that we get that value, to hold their fire to their feet. We need someone in a position that's strong, that would create that environment so that we will save our tax dollars. Again, thank you very much, everybody, for having the opportunity to stand in front of you. I would like to just finish one closing statement. I thank you for your vote, and I will honor it if you do elect me as Reeve. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings our proceedings to a close. Now we're going to take our opportunity to thank these fine people for putting forth their name to enhance our democratic process. It's a lot of hard work they're doing, and without people like them willing to put their name forward, democracy fails pretty quickly. Thank you. I'm a proud Springfielder, and the politicians at the federal, provincial, and other levels could learn a lot about how to have a forum, I think, from these folks and from you here tonight in terms of the conduct of how it happened. And the CBC public forums are nothing compared to the Springfield ones in terms of making sure that people are treated with respect. And I thank you all for that tonight, because with such a big audience, to have everybody in the room perfectly respectful is an amazing thing, and that's a testament to the people of Springfield. So Nicole, I'll call on you to close things out for us tonight.
Thank you so much, Linton. And again, I want to congratulate all of our candidates here this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We truly appreciate you taking the time. Again, a round of applause for our candidates, please. I'd like to thank Linton, of course, for the fantastic job that he does here. Moderating is no easy task, and certainly he has the gift of taking your questions and turning them into something meaningful for all of us. Linton, thank you very much. I'd like to acknowledge our board of directors who are in attendance tonight. The Springfield Chamber of Commerce is a volunteer-driven organization in our community, and we are proud to represent our membership, and we are proud to have their support and bring the community together at events like this. So thank you to our board members working here tonight. And as many of our candidates mentioned in closing, please, we want to encourage you all to get out and vote. Advance polls are open, so please exercise your democratic rights, and thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you.